Good morning from a parking garage in Canmore, Alberta, on day 11, just outside of Banff. The extra F is for fun, I'm told. Going to head through that park and the adjoining Jasper National Park, heading up to Grand Cache. Could be a washout, weather looks a little iffy. Rain, much cooler out, 48 degrees. So I am bundled up with the different socks, different gloves, extra base layer, and hope for the best with the heated grips. So let's get to it.
It was pretty cold and overcast as I entered Banff National Park. I spent some time on the alternate scenic route, the Bow Valley Parkway, which allows for a more leisurely pace. The clouds were soon lifting to reveal great scenery that needs no narration. I continued into Jasper National Park, and I know everyone talks about Banff, but Jasper was really amazing. The temperature had dipped into the low 40s, but the fleece base layer was doing a pretty good job of keeping my core warm. The heated grips and Gore-Tex gloves were doing well for my hands except the fingertips. Leaving Jasper National Park, I descended into the town of Jasper for lunch, and then got back on the road heading to the scenic route to Alaska. In this case, scenic meant frost heaves, potholes, and crevices, and some rain thrown in for good measure. It rained most of the way to Grand Cache, where I stopped for the night. Tomorrow would be a long endurance ride and the start of the Alaska Highway.
Good morning on day 12, cold and rainy. Leaving Grand Cache, Alberta, heading up to Fort Nelson, British Columbia. This is going to be the big mileage day. Hope for the best. Road conditions, I'm told, are a little iffy pavement-wise for a little bit heading out of town, and then hopefully it gets better. Got the right gear, and just put in the miles. Just outside of town, I saw a huge power plant that I didn't know was in the family.
Long stretches of fog and rain were followed by roadwork. It finally cleared up as I crossed into British Columbia and rolled into Dawson Creek for the start of the Alaska Highway, also known as the Alcan. Most Americans probably haven't heard of the Alcan, and fewer still realize its historical significance. Following the U.S. entry into World War II, an overland supply route was needed between Alaska and Canada, and construction began in March of 1942. Of the nearly 11,000 U.S. Army Corps of Engineers soldiers working on the Alcan, about one-third were African Americans in segregated units. Much like the Tuskegee Airmen and other African Americans serving in segregated units, these combat engineers defied racist assumptions about them. They overcame unthinkable obstacles, but they got it done, and the 1,387-mile Alcan was completed just 7 months later. Took a minor detour to see the wooden historic Kiskatna Bridge, which was a permanent structure to replace the temporary crossing built by the Army for the Alcan Highway. It remained in service until 1978, when the highway was rerouted to a new bridge, but you can still ride across the old wooden one today. Steel deck bridges can be sketchy on a bike, and this long 2-lane bridge took things up a notch. Fortunately, I didn't have any oncoming traffic to deal with. The rest of the day was pretty uneventful with the now familiar mix of roadwork and rain. I pulled into Fort Nelson and was happy to call it a day. Lots of challenging riding, lots of miles, but also lots of history with the Alcan Highway.
Good morning on day 13. I hope 13 is my lucky number because I've read about some wildfires up in the Yukon where we're heading today, leaving, where are we? Fort Nelson, British Columbia, heading up to Watson Lake. So many destinations, have to jog my memory. Straight shot, sort of, no planned stops along the way. And go pick up a sandwich now, so I have it because there's not much between here and there. See you later.
After a quick stop at Tim Hortons to load up on lunch items for later, I was on my way. The ride towards and through Stone Mountain Provincial Park really delivered on the scenery, and unfortunately loose gravel and roadwork as well. I was happy to let drivers in trucks and campers who wanted to drive fast go right around me. Oncoming traffic presented its own challenges though. Always have to be prepared for wildlife. North of Muncho Lake, there was a major construction zone with alternating one-way traffic. I was about a minute late for the northbound group of vehicles and had to wait about 15 minutes. crossed into the Yukon, twice actually, avoided more wildlife, this time much larger, and then stopped by the famous signpost forest in Watson Lake, created by a soldier working on the Alcan Highway. Tomorrow, a relatively short ride to Whitehorse, and probably smoke from wildfires.
Good morning on day 14 already, and I am departing from Watson Lake, Yukon, heading up to Whitehorse. Should be about 270 some miles. Hopefully the road conditions will be okay. Just heard about a little bit of construction going on. Yesterday was a little tricky, but not too bad. Also told some smoke and fires. As long as the roads are open, that'll be fine. A little cool, should be warming up, and scenery is nice. So let's get to it.
You can get a sense of how big the signpost forest is from the road heading out of Watson Lake. And within just a few minutes, you are out in the wilderness again. I stopped at a rest area at the start of the Canal Road with an odd collection of abandoned trucks, along with some interpretive signs, including one about the African American soldiers' role in the Canal Project and the Alaska Highway. Then I crossed Teslin River Bridge number 416, which I just read about. As I got closer to Whitehorse, I could definitely see smoke clinging to the mountains. I didn't know if it was a bad sign that everybody seemed to be heading away from Whitehorse. After checking into my hotel, I walked through the smoke to explore the SS Klondike National Historic Site. A riverboat turned into a museum. I'll make my final push into Alaska tomorrow, where rain and smoldering wildfires are in the forecast.
Good morning on day 15, the final push into Alaska, conditions permitting. I've not read anything about the road being closed due to the fire. There may be a pilot vehicle to lead convoys through the smoky and fire areas, which is fine, as long as I can get through. So departing Whitehorse, Yukon, and heading to Tok, T-O-K. I am told to sound like a local, or at least not like an idiot. It is pronounced Tok, so that's where we're going. A lot of miles today, so hopefully the conditions will cooperate. It's going to be smoky, so I have this, and stop as needed, and gain an extra hour due to the time zone change, and complete the 50 by 50 states mission. So that's good. See you later.
smoke was still pretty heavy after leaving Whitehorse, but eventually cleared up past Haines Junction and into the Kluane Lake area. The road across Kluane Lake has a sign warning of very strong crosswinds. The sign was a bit of an understatement. A few more minutes of riding put me at the parking area for the Soldiers Summit Trail, leading to the site of the dedication ceremony for the Alcan Highway in November 1942. The trail is just over a half-mile round trip, somewhat steep, and has nice views and interpretive signs along the way. Shortly after Soldiers Summit, it started raining, and there were several extended stretches of roadwork with mud and gravel. Once through the roadwork, I saw reduced speed signs for the wildfires. It was very smoky, but the fires close to the road were out, and traffic was moving through the area. The Canadian Border Services Agency checkpoint for inbound vehicles is actually about 18 miles inside Canada. After stopping for my Welcome to Alaska photo, I continued to the U.S. port of entry. I provided the correct answers for the border crossing quiz and headed towards Tok. I thought the road situation would improve in Alaska, but plentiful potholes, frost heaves, and fresh, slippery asphalt greeted me. I gained an hour due to the time change and pulled into Tok amidst the smoke and rain. Tomorrow, I begin to explore our 49th state.